This is Avoidance. We are Change.org here in Acapulco, Mexico, and right now I'm standing next to a very hardcore criminal gangster, and that, of course, is Sherry Peel Jackson, who went down for the horrible crime of thought crime. I'm not joking. Okay, I'm being facetious, of course. Sherry Peel Jackson really is an incredible human being, incredible life, and she went up against one of the biggest, most dangerous, nefarious government agencies that exists. She whistleblowed against them. They went after her, but she's back and better than ever. She just gave a presentation at Acapulco. It was really incredible. Now, Sherry, for the people who don't know you, I mean, you had an incredible life. I know you're giving a whole 1 hour talk, but in short, for people who don't know you, how would you kind of like introduce yourself and tell them about your journey?
Well, I'm also a truth seeker, and I worked for the IRS for 7.5 years. I was a certified public accountant and thought I was doing my duty to get the tax for the government, and then I found out that I wasn't. So I went through a series of education and found out that the income tax is being misapplied to the American people. So what do you do with that? You start researching more. You go down a rabbit hole. I read Ed Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and that was it, because when I found out that the Federal Reserve wasn't federal, and then the thugs called the IRS, better known as the insidious representatives of Satan, were taking the money. In other words, there's the bouncers for the club. And all this time I'm working hard. I'm working sometimes 16 hours a day just to make ends meet and make sure that my family has a nice life. And the money's not going towards fixing the roads because, you know, the other taxes take care of that. And we have real estate taxes and all these other taxes. Well, where is this money going? So I followed that rabbit trail down to figure out that the Federal Reserve was collecting all this money and interest, and we're getting robbed, and we're all slaves. So they use this thing called fear against us. And I started speaking out. I had to speak out because I couldn't sleep at night knowing that, hey, you know what? They're stealing our money. I grew up a little bit, part of my life I grew up in Detroit. I learned not to be fearful, and I wasn't fearful, so I started speaking. And guess what? They didn't like it.
Yeah.
So they went through a series of they raided my house and all that. They couldn't find any felony. So they brought me up on misdemeanor charges, and guess what they decided to do? They put me in prison. They gave me a 4-year sentence on a misdemeanor charge. Wow. Misdemeanor. And then I spent 3 years in federal prison. I got out with 6 months good time and 6 months halfway house, or else they probably would have kept me the 4 years. So that's what happened to me because I was a big mouth, and I started telling people, hey, this is your money. You know, this is your money. A lot of people are living in fear. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. So I'm trying to help people. Instead of trying to cut the head of the beast off now, I'm trying to help them starve the beast by using the tax code against them.
Yep. What you're doing is really incredible because, you know, you faced a lot of adversity, a lot of problems. For simply speaking the truth, they threw the book at you. I mean, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is, I mean, you're nonviolent, no victim crime. And it's like, What are you doing? And this is a good aspect that you brought up because we talk about this a lot. The main way that people control you is with fear. As long as you're not afraid of them, all that weight is shifted off their balance of power. And we really need to realize that our small individual actions do matter. And I love the kind of comeback story because, I mean, they threw the book at you. They put you away. They tried to scare you. They tried to intimidate you. And you're like, I'm going to now work, helping everyone really understand the game. And can you tell us more about what you're doing now? You have a new book, and you're talking about not tax evasion, but tax avoidance. And there's a big difference between that. And I want to bring up a very important point. But in short, how has your life changed after they kind of threw the book at you?
Well, it did change a lot. I lost 3 years, and you know, a lot of things happened with my family, but what I decided to do is look at what was really going on. What's going to work? 95 to 99% of the people are not going to stop filing tax returns because of that fear. So in order to help the 95% of the people, I need to help them within the system. Help them make sure that they get all the deductions that they can and get them down as low as they can, and some even eliminate tax altogether based on changes in their lifestyle and changes in the way they operate. Specifically starting businesses, because the tax code is really written for businesses. So that's what I do all day, every day. I'm helping people to make sure that they have a nice life like those people that are in charge of the Federal Reserve and all those folks.
Yeah, I mean, when you see kind of coverage of kind of taxes and the IRS and the mainstream media, you always see kind of one prevailing thought that they're trying to get out there to people, and that is the rich are not paying their taxes. Jeff Bezos only paid 0.1% with Amazon on his taxes. Bill, all these people, Rockefellers, not paying any taxes. They need to pay their fair share. How about, this is the ideas that you kind of brought up yesterday in your talk, which I totally agree with. How about we pay the same taxes that they do? It's only fair. Why would you want to push this kind of victim-blaming, authority-pushing ideology? That's, of course, what the mainstream media does. This is why we're so different as independent media. Why want everyone to pay more taxes when, in reality, when you look at where their money goes, it doesn't usually go to the roads. It doesn't go to helping people. It goes towards war. And this is why, this is a very important topic that you bring up, since, people like Bernie Sanders and a lot of people on the Democratic Party are also kind of rising up in power. He just won the New Hampshire primary. I'm wondering what kind of other ideas you think are very dangerous out there that are kind of promoted that you really want to make a stand against?
I want to make sure that they understand that this government school system is creating obedient servants to work for the corporatocracy, which is the banksters, the corporations, and the government. And our children are not being educated. They are being indoctrinated. So when we get to the point where we turn off the television, which I call the electronic income reducer, and start teaching our children and their reading and their learning math and all that, then they will be able to be self-sustaining. They will be able to be independent. They can start their own businesses. Do what the rich people do, and you can have what they have. So these people, they've learned how to use the code. Just like, no, they don't pay taxes because they use that tax code and all these credits and all these things. We can do that too. But we don't know because we're watching football games and we're watching all of the whatever's on television. I don't know because I don't have television. I don't watch it. But those are the things we need to do. That's the most dangerous thing, is for you to be ignorant and not know you're ignorant. And what I mean ignorant, I mean you don't really know what's going on in the world. There's more in life to whatever's on television or whatever sports is going on right there. And a lot of people are caught up right there. And that's all by design. Yep. It's by design for us. It's called bread and circuses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if people were as passionate as they are about their football teams and the Super Bowl as they were about their families, their futures, their livelihoods, instead of having other people's in the back of their shirt. That's another thing that's perplexing. I see people walking around with other people's names on their back. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? And another thing you brought up, a lot of people are promoting free education. Why would you want free indoctrination? Now, some degrees are important, but most of them are like, they're usually pointless, right?
Right. And one of the things that people don't know, my children never graced the halls of a government school. When I knew that when I was a teenager that my parents, based on what they taught me, that it was changing. The school system was changing. The things that they're teaching people in school right now are to group think. They're not thinking on their own. They're doing group projects, and everybody gets a reward at the end, even if you didn't do anything. So our children are being, brainwashed. It's a brainwashing situation. And I know everybody is not in a position that they can homeschool, but you can come home and instead of turning on that television, you can help your child learn math, or you can help your child learn something, or look at your child and make sure that child, whatever bent he has, if it's art, go get him some art books. If it's math, get him some. My son used to like architecture. He didn't turn out to be an architect, but I bought him little projects, and he loved Legos. And these are the things we need to protect our youth, because this country is on its way down. Yeah. And we have to do things ourselves, but we also have to protect our children, because they'll be against us if we don't teach them what's really going on.
Yeah. And they want everyone to be slaves, not doing their own independent thing, not doing their own businesses, which you call for people. You're like, start your own business, deduct. The stuff that you're doing. You're at Acapulco. You could even deduct being in Acapulco because it's a learning event under your business. Like, why would you own? Another thing, I don't want to give up all your secrets, but your secret, you give a talk for like an hour. So just in short, I mean, some of the ideas, the information is kept away from us. And this is another part why we're seeing a lot of censorship of independent media. So I really thank you for kind of speaking out for getting hit, but getting up twice as strong and saying, no, you're not going to keep me down. I'm going to keep informing people and educating people about the real information. Anything else you'd like to say to the people out there about yourself, about the IRS, especially if maybe they're going through a hard time? What's your message out there to the general public?
They can go out on Amazon and get my book, How to Stick It to the IRS, and that will help them at least get a foothold on what's going on. And always stay vigilant. Do not question everybody. Always. The Democrats and the Republicans are sleeping in the same bed, and they're screwing us all. Know that. This is a game. It's a kabuki dance. Figure out what you need for yourself and your family and do it.
Yep, and question everything and everyone. Sherry Peel Jackson, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. I look forward to your full talk about your full story. I mean, crazy story. I mean, the whistleblower aspect, I mean, we have to have whistleblowers. We have to protect them. We have to respect them. We have to promote them. That's one of the core reasons why we're doing these types of videos. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, amazing human beings, for being a part of independent media.
Right.
If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org at our coverage of Anarchapulco. That's now closing out one of the sessions of TDV and will be going on for the entirety of this week. Stay tuned for our coverage. Thank you again, Sherry, for joining us.